So the early books that you published were about Greek mythology, and I myself have wonderful memories of lying under the stars with you at the shore, and you telling me about Cassiopeia and Orion, and it was very exciting for me to see these words published. And lots of people have now been able to read your books. Waiting for Odysseus is one of them. And why did you choose that genre when you began to write for young adults?
You know, I hadn't thought about it, but in those months when I was stuck with my grandparents on a chicken farm, I somehow had my mother's sixth grade reader. And every night they would send me to bed, and I would have a little flashlight, and I would read, and it was all about Achilles and Hector, and I was totally immersed in it. And from then on, I just read everything I could get my hands on, and then I realized that there were many versions of the way the story is told. And for a while, I was trying to write romances that I had finally gotten a New York editor to approve of one. But in the meantime, I'd been telling my students, and in this case it was seventh graders, I'd been telling these stories that I'd kind of massaged and played around with. And they said to me, "Why are you writing romances? Why don't you write these down?" And every time I do a talk about my books, I tell them about this is the island of Maui, also a public school, fifth graders talking me into it. And so when I got to New York, I got an offer from a romance company that I don't know if it still exists, but a good one. And then I got an interview with Simon and Schuster, and the editor who became my mentor and friend wanted to do this with me and help me finish these stories. And she did all the things that an editor is not supposed to do anymore, copy editing and sending, tightening sentences. And she was wonderful. And so we did 4 books together, and then she retired. And my last book that's sitting in a file was about Achilles, which is a very complex character, and the woman that Briseis that is taken away from him, and that starts the whole Trojan War thing. So that's sitting in a file now too. I don't quite know what to make of the publishing industry, but I'm writing that sort of love story of a Hawaiian family.
And then you slipped in Dance for the Aina, or Dance for the Land, about a young woman who was half Hawaiian and raised in Los Angeles as a ballet dancer and came to live with her father in Hawaii. And it has a lot of information about the history of Hawaii as well as the sovereignty movement. What stimulated you to go in that direction after all the Greek mythology?
Well, I worked at Kamehameha, the School for Hawaiian Children, for 11 years, and I studied the language from my very first year teaching. I just walked over to the Hawaiian class and took Hawaiian 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then kept it up at the university. So I learned an awful lot about Hawaiians there, and being an administrator in the school. There's so much that I value. I actually have a little Hawaiian granddaughter too now, an adopted granddaughter who's is so po'opa'akiki, that's Hawaiian for hard-headed, that no one is going to tell you what to do. So she won't learn hula right now, but I have my hopes.
And what do you personally think about the sovereignty movement? And can you just talk about a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, it's in the new book. There's a part of discussion where they're very radical folks that don't want to be a state anymore, want to be an independent kingdom. But the great mass of the Hawaiians want their crown lands back that were stolen from them, unlike the Indian tribes who got a lot of land and stuff back. The Hawaiians had the same experience, but they didn't get their land back. They didn't get anything back. And so there is a sizable community of Hawaiians who are still working for that. And Akaka, who's one of our representatives, or is he a senator? God, I should remember that. He's floated a bill that has never passed. Maybe we have enough Democrats now. The Hawaiians have, even those same Hawaiians who want their crown lands back, they fought in all the wars. I mean, they consider themselves to be Americans, but they think they got a bad deal.
And is there anything specifically that you could, more generally, say about the Hawaiian culture and what you've learned by really being part of these islands for over 20 years, 25 years now?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, is waking up in the morning and come through aloha. That's all you've got to do. And there are a lot of Hawaiians out there that live like that and are, there's a thing called ho'oponopono, making things right. And it's how, in the old days, in order to survive, you had to communicate and you had to care for one another. And so I have been informed by ho'oponopono in my own life that I'm just supposed to get up in the morning. I don't have to worry about reading the Bible or deciding what happens when you die. I know that I'm supposed to get up and come through love.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Oh, give us a little bit of Hawaiian language, if you would.
Ole make wau e inu ika ava. I just said I don't want to drink any ava. That's a Hawaiian. It's not exactly an alcoholic beverage, but it tastes very bitter and it makes you kind of wiped out.
So you don't want to drink any of that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.